training the next generation of long-term care leaders. This is all about the NexGen DOC and ED Fellowship Program. So let's start where all this began. This all began probably over a couple of decades ago for myself, and we do have with us online Derrick Bernardo, also a long-term care executive in British Columbia. Derrick, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Pleasure to be here, Saima. I'm Derrick Bernardo. I'm the president and CEO for Broadmead Care. We're located in Victoria on Vancouver Island. So I'm here from the West, representing the West. But I do want to tell the folks out there that, my history began in Ontario, and I worked there for most of my healthcare career and then migrated to Alberta. And again in an executive role, and then moved to BC as the president and CEO for Broadmead Care. And here I am focusing on growth and innovation as part of my my to-do list. And it's been such an exciting experience for me to date. So it's nice to be here.
Thank you, Derrick. And it's always a pleasure connecting with you and reconnecting just over the decades as we've crossed paths. So today's topic is looking at the next generation of long-term care leaders. So how can we support them? Now, where does this start? So this is a little bit of going back in history. When I first became a director of care myself, I remember frantically, Derrick, looking for a program to take, like a director of care and training program. And of course, that was about 27 years ago, almost 30 years ago, and there wasn't anything. So that started planting the seed for me, first for my own self-learning, and then how do I pass that on?
It definitely was a very challenging time. And I think we both were in that same era, that generation, where there was nothing in place. And it was basically you're a frontline nurse, which for those who don't know, I am a nurse, and working in long-term care just as a frontliner. And then someone saw something in you and felt that you could be either a director of care or an executive director. And there you go. You were just trying to fit in and trying to understand all the legislation and regulations. And I do have to admit that my first experience wasn't the best. I actually did so poor in my first evaluation that actually somebody within that organization saw something in me and actually mentored me. And that's where I am today because of that mentor that saw something in me and felt that I could be, a very, top-notch leader in the healthcare sector. So yeah, it's so important to have that mentor.
And that's true. The mentorship is so important. Now, we do have courses presently out there for directors of care and executive directors. But many of the DOCs that are stepping into these roles now without structured courses, programs, mentorship, or transition support, they feel quite lost in some cases. So the impact that could be felt as far as quality, staffing, compliance, competencies really shows that there's an opportunity here to support the emerging leaders for tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like our next generation of healthcare leaders really represents, for me anyway, a powerful blend of that compassion and innovation and resilience, particularly because we're always confronted with uncertainties, particularly in the area of our economics, as well as the pandemic. So many issues arise, and challenging as long-term care is, adding these external factors really makes long-term care a hard sector to work in. So you need good leadership skills to support your staff and the entire home and organization.
Yeah. And for me, being a long-term care executive and an adult educator as well, that set the platform for me to as an opportunity. And the seed for me, I'm excited to share about the NexGen program got planted actually in the early 2000s in Ontario when the first set of 20,000 beds were, I think, being open at that point in time, and coaching some of my DOCs at that time in opening and through the transformation of leadership. And really, there wasn't much other than informal mentoring that I've been a mentor and a mentee. So through lived experience of being in operations for almost 2 decades, and then a little bit of research for about a decade, looking at competencies, evidence-based practice, having gone through three legislative changes here in Ontario, looking at what are the competencies that we can equip our next generation of leaders with. So there was an opportunity there, and I think Derrick, probably you've had the opportunity to coach, teach, mentor as you're operating from the different provinces as well.
Yeah, it's been a really positive experience for me. I've been able to mentor a number of individuals from working as managers and then into directors and then getting into the executive role in healthcare, whether it be in acute care or long-term care. What I found was that you need that combination of both mentorship, education, and that hands-on experience to really help our emerging leaders build those skill sets and confidence because it's very complex right now, and particularly in all the provinces. I think we all are confronted with not only just the lack of beds, but also the lack of staff. So it really takes a good leader to be able to stick handle it and navigate it effectively.
Yeah. And we know the provincial legislations differ slightly, but the national priorities of all the high-risk clinical areas are pretty well the same across the three provinces. And as you said, Derrick, it's the mix of hands-on and knowledge-based and competency-based experiences. So this is where we're looking at NexGen, and I'm happy to share the NexGen fellowship program actually has the 4 phases we go through. We go through the implementation science phase. So learners learn how to apply implementation science using the IHI model for sustainability. And then we have quite a few units. That's the longest part of our program is we have 8 units for directors of care and 12 units for EDs, which are competency-based self-care and live knowledge exchanges, live summits on a weekly basis. But the last part, the third and fourth phase of the program is the exciting part. There's an opportunity for a manuscript submission, a capstone project working on what your organization's current priorities are, and a fellowship practicum placement. We do partner you with a long or we can help you select one otherwise, where you'll have the opportunity to be buddied up and shadow a director of care or an executive director up to 30 hours on site. So that's the exciting part that I think is that hands-on, on site, getting a feel for what it's like to be in the DOC shoes, in the ED shoes, and everyone's experience will differ based on what that home at that point in time may be going through.
I'm totally looking forward to this opportunity, Saima. I'm very proud as representation for Broadmead Care to invest in the next generation of long-term care leaders. And these are individuals that we know that will exemplify, core values of respect and excellence and innovation. And really, for me, it's my dedication as well as my entire organization to learning and collaboration and compassionate care that really ensures that we're providing the best of the best in terms of leadership so that our residents that we serve remain safe and secure.
Yeah, and it's learning for ourselves as well because it is lifelong learning, which never really ends. And with our program facilitators, we do have a peer review committee of about 15 individuals that pull together to review the content, anywhere from inspectors to best practice implementation coaches to DOCs to EDs to RI experts to researchers that have been on the review committee to ensure the efficacy of the program, across the three provinces. So we do have representation from the three provinces. So happy to echo with Derrick Bernardo as Broadmead as one of our supporters for the fellowship hours. We do have supporting organizations across Ontario and Alberta as well. So we look forward to supporting the next emerging long-term care leaders and passing the leadership torch. Most of our facilitators do have decades of experience, so really passing on that leadership torch to the next generation of emerging leaders.
Yes, and that's part of the reason why we want to participate in this, because we want to ensure that we are providing good leadership within healthcare, because that is the key to making good changes, the best changes in terms of the quality of care for the people that we serve.
Yeah, so that's definitely a promise here. So thank you, Derrick, for your time and your insights into this much needed vision here and initiative. So as we close today's conversation, I want to thank all of our listeners and Derrick Bernardo from Broadmead. And as the NexGen DOC and ED Fellowship progresses, just want to highlight that it's more than a program, as Derrick has mentioned. It is a promise. It is a promise to prepare our next generation of leaders who lead with heart and purpose, to strengthen our system by nurturing those individuals that lead teams. So, from the seed that was planted very early in my career in the early 2000s to the partnerships now blooming across the country, this journey just reflects what's possible when vision meets collaboration. So, thank you very much. And we look forward to supporting yourself and your leaders and your colleagues in the Next Gen Leadership series. Until then, keep learning, keep leading, and keep inspiring the change you want to see.